Welcome to the Anderson and Lindhardt Show. This is episode 30. In this episode, we talk about Reiss's trip to Virginia, the psychology of money and personal finances, and the psychology of politics. Obviously, each of those topics have so much attached to them, so make sure to listen to the whole episode. You won't be let down. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless you and your family. I can't believe it's already passed.
I mean, you guys were there for like a week and a half.
Yeah, and we ended up staying a whole extra day, and so it's just like crazy how it's like I had made a couple calls like the day before we flew out, and I was reading through those notes today, and because I put on my Google sheet that I work through, like I put notes that said call back today, or today or yesterday, like when I'd get back from my vacation. I was like, wow, like I was telling these people like, yeah, I'm gonna be gone for like 2 weeks. Bless you.
Oh, excuse me. Okay.
And it's like now I'm already back, and so it's kind of weird. But
Asian time is just on another time, man. It just goes
weird. It like
so frustrating because you're like, why can't normal time go this fast?
Yeah, it totally trips me out. And so it's like what Albert Einstein said, time is relative. If you sit on a hot stove for 5 minutes, it feels like an hour. But if you hang out with the girl you like for an hour, it feels like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, dude, facts.
Oh, wow. That's a mind bender. What the heck? It's true, though. Or like doing a plank, it's like do it for 30 seconds. And you're just like, after 30 seconds, you're like, this is the longest 30 seconds.
Yeah, you can't even believe it. It's crazy. And then, or like, sometimes I'll be about to clock out at work, and I'm like, I just have to clock out at like 1:55 or 2 p.m. because that's my 5 hours. And then I'm just looking at the clock, and it'll be like there's 50 seconds left in the minute. And then I'm like, all right. And then I'll like look around, do something else. And I'm like, okay, it's probably almost 55 or 2 or whatever. And then there's like, it's only been like 20 seconds. Like, what the freak? Like when you're staring at the clock, watching a minute go by, you're like, that is so long. But then I go on a 10-day vacation. It's like, boom, already been back for 2 days now. And it's super weird.
All right. I always had this question I would ask people when I was little, because I just was such an interesting, like, I don't even know if it's disciplining yourself, but just like how much would someone have to pay you to watch a clock for 24 hours? Like watch it go around for 24 hours. Like how much would someone have to pay you for you to do that? Because like to me, I honestly don't know if I could do it. Like I would go crazy. Like that would be insane.
Dude, I don't know. I'd probably do that for like $500,000 at least.
Yeah. I just like sometimes I'll just do it because like it's been a question I was just like thought of all the time. But then I'll just like look at the clock and I'm like,
very specific question.
Yeah, it's super random. I mean, not all my questions are winners, but it's just like I'll just look at the clock and I'm like, I can't do this, and I'll just like leave. I'm like,
I have a little clock like right there on my window, and I'm like looking at it right now, and it's just watching the second hand go around, and it's just so weird when you watch time. And then I was watching this Rhett and Link today where they were like acting like cavemen, like they were dressed up as cavemen, like eating. The game was it's hard to explain, but basically there was 2 different meals. One of them was like paleo diet, which is just basically like whole foods, and then the other one was like caveman, straight up like caveman food, like beetles or fermented fruit with worms in it, like stuff like that. And anyways, you know how they always say at the end of their episodes, like, you know what time it is?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Rhett did this like on the fly, like super witty. He was about to say like, you know what time it is, and then he said, do you know what time is? Because I don't. And so his joke was like, a caveman, they're just an animal, like they don't have a sense of time. And it's like with our prefrontal cortex, we also developed the sense for time, even though time is just, it says it in the scriptures. It's like time is just something allotted to man. Like it doesn't even exist, but you can't wrap your mind around that. You can't, like, not in this realm. It's like time doesn't exist. Of course it does. You can like sense yourself moving through it, but it's like It's not there.
Yeah, it's just like
It's just
crazy
always
that
now.
that's a man-made thing.
Yeah,
Time.
we just perceive it that way.
You're like, what the like, how did we? And then it's so funny when like seminary students, they get like going on this and they're like, wait, there's no beginning and there's no end, and then that you just see like their brains like literally start to hurt, and I'm just like,
Dude, it literally like,
oh.
well, I think about this stuff probably too much because it really starts to trip me out. I just can't even
Do you ever
believe
just look
it.
at yourself in the mirror and you're like, dude, I'm really in this?
Oh,
Like,
I literally,
this is my body. You're like, what the? You like look at your. You're like, I can move this. Like you just, and then you all of a sudden you're just tripping. Like,
yeah, I do
super.
this every single day. I'm just like, I'll be looking at myself in the mirror sometimes and I'm like, I exist. Like I just exist and I don't know how or like it's just I just am here right now on planet Earth and it's just crazy to me. I don't
Yeah,
know. I just get
I've always had those moments, like even since I was little, where I would just be like, dude, I'm literally like Carter. Like I'm in this body, and it's just
no, I think about the body thing a lot, like especially with
like I'm
fitness.
literally moving my fingers without even like thinking about it. Like how it's just like you're in control of this amazing, it's trippy,
It's
man.
like one
Like,
of the most smartest or the most intelligent organisms like ever that we know of. It's like
and
you
we're
you
in charge
inhabit
of it.
you inhabit one. And that's why you read my post about like people ask me how do you
The one where you're like,
yeah.
that one. I this is super random real quick, but I picked a scab while I was working out. Super gross. But it, it was on my arm.
Sicko.
And so
You sicko.
it was one time. And so it was like bleeding on my arm, and you had just posted that. So I was just like, I don't even know if you'll be able to see it, but I did like the screaming face, and you could just see
Oh
like
yeah.
the blood kind of dripping down
Yeah,
my
dude.
arm. I was just like, ah,
Dude, it feels sick. Like
yeah.
I was just feeling it because that's what I was thinking about during my workout is like, no, this is spiritual to me. Like this is so much
Mhm.
more than aesthetics and stuff. Like that's part of it. And like hypertrophy is part of why I work out and having a nice body is part of why I work out. But it's like this goes so much deeper than just that. And like I was just feeling like hyped up and I was alone in the gym and so um my father-in-law he's a road biker. Like he bikes something like
Oh yeah,
200
he's
miles a
like,
week or
yeah,
something or
he's
more than that. He's
crazy with
crazy.
that.
But anyways, he has like a bike stand and he was out on a ride. So I had like his bike stand and then I have like my bendy phone tripod and I put it up there and
Sit up
put a
on it.
timer. But I was just, I don't know, I was feeling it because I was thinking about that. I'm like, I'm inhabiting this body and I can help it operate better or I can hurt it, and I don't know. It was just
There's like a
deep.
psychological like it feels so good to just like let out a scream sometimes, even if it's just like a fake one. Like I don't know if you actually screamed or not, like, but it like feels good sometimes. Just be like,
Well,
ah, like
dude,
let's
oh,
go.
totally. And I like,
Especially when you're lifting, you're just like, oh, let's go.
oh, remember when it was like you, me, and Jackson, and we would be about to bench press,
And
and
we
we
would
would,
like get hyped.
I'm a gorilla. We said that one time. I'm a gorilla. And dude, you just start like banging your chest and screaming. You get really primal. I love that though. And so, like, okay, Riley and I used to work out in that garage gym, because it's at her house. We used to work out in that garage gym in the fall in Virginia.
Also,
So,
shout out to your cleaning skills. That was
dude,
you did it. That was
I went
sweet.
ham on that. Like, as soon as I landed in Virginia and Wendy picked me up, I said, I'm cleaning the garage like all day tomorrow because I'm not going to work out in some crusty. And like, I took out all the dumbbells, all the plates, moved them back. There was tons of spiders and cat hair and dirt and leaves. And I just cleaned the crap out of it. I wiped off every plate and dumbbell individually because it was all
Dang.
caked. But I was like, man, this is like my sanctuary. In
Yeah.
Russia, it's considered very disrespectful to step over a barbell. Yeah.
Like if it's on the
If it's
floor,
like if you're deadlifting or something and someone steps over the barbell, it's like bad guy, like get out of the gym.
really.
Yeah, like weightlifting and fitness is like a religion there. It's
Mm,
not like it's a religion, but
right.
it's
Like,
treated with respect like that. And
I mean, you
honestly,
could think of like people take sports as like religion, you know.
yeah,
So
exactly. Or it's like, if with martial arts, most martial arts, it's like with jiu-jitsu, for example, no shoes on the mat ever. No excuses. Like if you accidentally left your keys on the other side of the mat, it's like, take your shoes off. Like, doesn't matter if they're boots, and you just tied them up. And so it's like, and I kind of had that same feeling. I was like, yeah, this is kind of like going to be my little sanctuary for the time I'm here, and it needs to be
Mhm.
clean. And anyways, but what I was going to say about the garage gym is when I worked out in there in the fall, it was chilly outside, so it's not like I would always warm up in a hoodie
Well,
out there.
that's true. It probably didn't
But
even have AC, so it's probably pretty
no, yeah, it's
warm.
just a garage. But this time of year, it's hot as all get out, and there was tons of thunderstorms while I was there, so the humidity is just through the roof. Like,
Is that
I think
like
the
200%?
like the lowest I saw it get was like 65% the whole time I was there. It was hovering around 80,
Sheesh.
70% each day. And it was probably like 95 degrees,
So you're basically
90.
working out in a sauna.
Exactly. And so it felt like a sauna working out, and you literally sweat from like every pore inside you, like on your body. It's insane. And it talking about release, it just felt so good to release like all that. And um I don't know if this is going to show up on the camera, but FA has like a super nice Sony camera, and so he was trying it out. That's why he made that video of me. But let's see if you can see it. You probably can't, but there's
But
like
I mean, I can see this the drip mark, like the sweat.
there's like every like he's like, dude, look at this. And he showed me, he's like, you are literally having sweat come out of like every pore on your
Pour.
back. And I was like, whoa, like, because when I work out at the gym here, it's 72 degrees and it's
They
got
probably
big
have fans
fans. They
going.
have those big fans and there's tons of airflow. And some dudes sweat a ton, but like I'm naturally not like a super heavy sweater. And so I'll just
Right.
kind of like sweat up here and maybe get a drop every once in a while, like if it's
You feel
leg day or
so cool
something.
when it like drops on the floor. You're
Yeah,
just like,
yeah.
yes. You're like,
Exactly. But like in the garage gym in Virginia, you're just drenched the whole entire workout, but it feels so great. And I also feel like this might have just been me placeboing myself, but nonetheless, it was true. Like I felt like my joints were more like oiled, so to speak. Like
Mm.
I was able to warm up quicker.
Well, like, do
And
you remember that time we worked out in St. George and like I was just able to like crush all
oh,
of my PRs and we had just
yeah,
spent like an hour and a half in the sun and it was like
yeah,
I honestly think there's something to, and obviously like you were there too, so you got someone to like pump you up, but like I honestly think like you're probably right. Like you're probably able to warm up quicker. You're probably able to be like
yeah,
more loose if it's like a pretty warm environment.
yeah. And so there's a sauna at Vasa, and like I've seen guys go in there before their workouts. And so after 10 days of working out and in a sauna, literally, like if anyone's ever been to a humid place, what it's like. And I love it. I thrive in the humidity. Like I freaking love it. But most people hate it. But anyways, so today I went into the sauna before my workout just to like see. I'd never been in there. Like I didn't even know what to expect.
You walk
And
in, there's a grandpa just full nude in there. You're like, oh,
he's like
come
laying on
on,
the
man.
ground. I'm like, dude, really, you ruined my experience. But I went in there and I because I didn't really know what to expect, I was just sitting there for a while and I was just like, letting my body heat up because it's really hot in there, obviously. And then I was like, man, I should do like a little meditation because I had these headphones on, they're noise canceling. There's only two other people in there. And so because I was getting low on time, I just did a little like 3-minute meditation on calm. But I texted Riley and I was like, dang, I just sat in the sauna for a couple minutes before my workout and like feel really good. And I was like, I want to start doing like a 15-minute meditation each morning just in there. So I think I'm going to go to the gym just like 10 minutes earlier than I usually
Mhm.
do. Just so from like
And do a
5,
meditation
yeah,
before.
yeah, just sit up there in the sauna and just get real warmed up and meditate. And that way I can go to the gym and get my meditation and get my heat exposure. And also saunas are really healthy for you. It's just there's like a bunch of science about it, which I don't know very well, but I've read about it. But anyways,
I mean, I can't imagine sweating a lot is bad for you. It's probably releasing talk like I
It
don't know much
literally
about it, but it
releases
there's
Mhm.
no way it can't be bad.
Yeah, it releases toxins and then metals that get inside the body. Metals through pots and pans. There's a certain type of metal that they've made a bunch of pans with that is now federally illegal for companies to make it out of. I can't remember what it is. I'll have to look into it more, but because it's getting in your food, you don't think that
Right.
cooking an egg or pancake or whatever on this metal, you don't think it's getting into the food, but it is, and it's getting it in tiny amounts. But I mean, over a year, you use the pan 100 times and you have 200 eggs in the year, and that's 200 eggs full of this tiny little pieces of metal that are microscopic but that compounds. And so anyways, you can sweat that stuff out. It's really good for like just it just feels clearing, and it's a physical clearing, but it also feels like an emotional clearing, like it's just a release of stress, like literally. And
I
so
mean, it's kind of like crying, where it's like
yeah.
crying is a release of like a lot of emotions, and there's like tears usually involved. And so, like, can you cry
Mm-hmm.
without tears? I don't know, maybe, but like, it's
Yeah.
like that physical release,
Yeah.
but I would say crying is more so an emotional release. So it's just like it's kind of like the same thing, but more of a physical release than emotional, but it's still kind of the same.
Yeah, it's totally, and it's like um the human body is designed to release stress via physical activity, because you look at our evolutionary history. I mean, the the most used example is like a saber-toothed tiger jumps out and tons of stress hormones flood your body, and you run for your life. And after you run for 20 minutes or so and you lose the animal, then you chill back down and you go back to homeostasis. But it's like you just release that stress through that physical,
Right.
or oh my goodness, we're starving, we don't have food, tons of stress because you're like, crap, we're gonna die. And so how do you release that stress? You go hunting and you go climb the mountains and go take an animal down. And so it's like, most people aren't living physical lives at all. I mean, they're waking up, most people's mornings are probably pretty mediocre. Like they just wake up and they're probably not even fully awake until they are like at work drinking their coffee, probably. And so, and then it's like, okay, so you sit at work for 8 hours, then you sit in your car. And then when you come home, what do most people do? They just sit down and watch TV, which like
Mhm.
it's turn on the TV for 15 minutes, watch a funny video. That's what I do when I get home some morning, or some days I'll like eat lunch and I'll watch a Rhett and Link. But then it's like, then go do something.
Yeah.
Like even if you just walk around your house and like clean a little bit, like as long as you're just using your body, people just sit so much.
Dang. Yeah, no, that's kind of true, because it's like my after I teach seminary, I'm always like, even sometimes after we record the podcast, I'll be like pretty like exhausted, and I'll just need like a like your body's like, oh, you need to take a nap, or you need to um like you just feel like tired and a little bit out of it, and I'll usually just take like maybe like scroll on Instagram for like 2 3 minutes, or like I'm just like in my office watching like TikToks or whatever. People probably think I'm studying my scriptures, but and then it's like after that, it's like I'm good to go. So it's like kind of weird, like
Yeah.
your body like sometimes tries to trick you into like just being like, just sit down for like an hour, or just like you just need to relax. And it's like usually you don't need to. Like sometimes, you need to take a nap, or you need to, give yourself a break. But it's like usually you can get the same amount of stuff just by chilling and like kind of numbing your mind for just a little bit.
Yeah, Tony Robbins goes off on this where he says, obviously there's extreme cases where it's like, yeah, dude, you need more sleep. But he's like, most people, when they feel that afternoon slump, one of the main reasons is because their nutrition and their sleeping habits. So it's like your nutrition and sleeping is huge. But he Tony Robbins just gets super amped up and says, like, you know how you get more energy? It's not by laying on the couch for 2 hours. It's by doing something. He's like, it's weird. Your brain thinks that it needs to just sit and you're going to store it more energy somehow. But he's like, no, the way you get more energy is you go out and you start picking the weeds out of the garden, or you start mowing the lawn, or you start cleaning the bathroom, or you drive to the, car store or the car parts store to get some oil and you change your oil. Like you do something. Then
Hmm.
all of a sudden the energy is there.
Then
It's
you're
like,
awake.
yeah, it's like my friend at work. I don't know if he's still doing it, but he wanted to like go to the gym in the mornings. So a couple weeks ago, one morning he came to work and he's like, dude, I went to the gym this morning, and he said it was way hard at first, but by my like second or third exercise that I was on, it was pretty easy.
Right.
And like I was wakeful and had the energy for it. And I'm like, yeah, that's like typically how it goes. It's like you just have to trust that the energy is going to come, and 9 times out of 10 it will, unless there's some extreme like nutritional gap or you literally didn't sleep. Then obviously go take a huge nap. But if you're eating well and you got sufficient amount of sleep and you get a little slump, then maybe I like to sometimes do like little, I kind of feel like it's a squeegee, like going on, when you take a squeegee like on a window, like it feels like it's going
Yeah.
over my brain, like clearing it off. Like if I just do like a 20-minute power nap, 15-minute power nap, and you kind of just get into like this loopy state where you, I don't know, you're not asleep, but you are super zoned out. But then you get
Mm-hmm.
up from that and it's like, okay, let's go. Enough laying around,
Yeah. No, it's been interesting because like God has a funny sense of humor. I was like, yeah, I think I'll try the 12 to 8 schedule, and then it just wasn't really working out. And now I'm on like the freaking 5 in the morning schedule because I'm teaching early morning seminary.
Wait,
So
seriously?
yeah, he's funny, huh? And so
Dang, dude.
he's I've been waking up like my first I have to snooze. I can't just wake up and go. So my first alarm is at 5:30. I mean, I probably can. I just really love that feeling of when you want sleep so bad that you can't go back and get it. So I just, anyways,
That's what
I
Riley
like,
does. She gets out of bed at 6, but she wakes up, like has the first alarm at 5:55.
and your bed just feels so nice.
Because then it's like that 5 minutes. Yeah, I understand that.
So I've been doing that, and it's just been interesting. Like 5:30 up at 5:45, and then like trying to like get going. And it's like it's interesting the difference in my mornings. And obviously, I've only been doing it for like a week and a half. But like when
Dang,
you
dude,
get
I didn't know that.
yeah, but I'm also I need to figure out going to bed though because I'm not
That's hard.
not getting as much sleep. But I'm waking up super early, so that's cool. But yeah, I like go outside and it's like dark. I'm like, what the heck? This is crazy. But like yeah, it's just like crazy the difference in my mornings when I like get up and like whether it's like go to the bathroom first or just like kind of get going versus like just kind of like sitting around and you're like, I'll just lay in my bed for like 10 minutes or like, and it's just like kind of crazy
Yeah.
the difference that even it has like in like and when I get to seminary and like I'm tired, like this morning, like I was pretty tired like throughout early morning, like for the first like 10 minutes. And then once I like got going, like I was into it, but I was like, dang, like I should probably start doing something more to wake myself up so that I can perform better in the morning. But it's just like interesting how, just sitting around not doing anything is the exact opposite of what your body is telling you to do. But it's like kind of weird.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I love the mornings, man. It's weird because the first like 1 minute of my mornings, or it's probably more like 30 seconds is like always kind of hard. Like every time I hear the alarm go off, it's like, oh gosh. And like this morning I had to pee. It was 4:30 and I wake up at 4:55. And so it's like, I'll
You're
just
like, I'm
come
I'm gonna
lay.
hold it.
Yeah, I was like, I'll just lay here for 20 minutes. Gosh dang it. But but yeah, once you just get going, man, and it's not like it's super easy,
Right.
like especially on leg day. Oh my gosh, like today I accidentally got off schedule because I didn't work out yesterday because we had gotten home close to 1 o'clock in the morning the other night. And so I was just like way tired. And so I just was going with my split. I thought today was leg day.
Mm-hmm.
So I did legs today, but typically today's my push day. So it's like crap. I guess tomorrow will be my push day and then I'll try to reset it from there. But anyways, yeah.
That's cool. Well, do you want to I want to hear about this the wedding party a little bit.
Oh,
I
dude.
haven't, but we just kind of started going. So welcome to episode 30, I guess. Is just we're just gonna
Yeah,
it's
this is 30, man.
almost just like a little catch up. But yeah,
Yeah,
I want to hear about uh
dude.
the
So
wedding
first off,
party.
yeah,
Shout out to Wendy. Holy cow, man. She went off.
dude, she knows how to throw a party,
Yeah, for
and Hampton
real.
knows how to party. Like it went down at our wedding. It was so much fun. But anyways, first off, I was not expecting it to be this big of an
I
event.
didn't either. I thought it was just gonna be like a And I mean, obviously you're
Yeah,
involved. I'm just hearing stuff from you, but like you sent me the video. I was like, dude, this looks like a LA like party, like
it was
crazy.
legit. Like it was super legit. And so I did not expect it to be this big. And I first started getting like ideas that it was going to be huge when, so Wendy, my mother-in-law, she has she has a brother in Germany who's Air Force. So he's in Germany. She has a sister in Colorado, and then she has two brothers in Texas, and then a brother in like Norfolk or Chesapeake or something. So right there. And then Matt, my father-in-law, he has a brother in Colorado. He has a sister in Utah. And then his other brothers are Virginia Beach, Suffolk. So they're close by. Anyways, all their siblings were all here.
Wow.
So we had family from all over. And then Riley's grandma's brother, who's 81 or so, came down from Ohio with the cousins, like Wendy's cousin and stuff. So they're like 60s, but so they came down from Ohio and they were sweet. Like they were
Sheesh.
so much fun. And so we had people, I put it in and then my cousins came up who live in North Carolina. They came up. My mom's friend, childhood friend who lives in Southern California, she came because she has a brother in Midlothian
What?
and a brother who used to live in Norfolk. Like what? And so she came out and she was like, yeah, I'll go to the party and hang out with my brothers. Like, so she came coast to coast. And so we had tons of people. And then obviously tons of people
Get the whole
from,
map covered.
yeah, like literally we even had Germany, and then FA came from Canada. So we had 3 countries and tons of states who all showed up for this. And it was like crazy. And we had tons of people from the ward. And then Riley had tons of kids that went to her high school who came. And the DJ was so good. He was kind of during the beginning parts where there was like food and stuff. We didn't do like formal sit down and eat. We just had
Mhm.
Mission Barbecue come bring a bunch of meat, and we just
Oh,
went up and get it. Yeah, dude. It
oh.
was it was sick. And so anyways, during those parts the DJ was playing just like normal white people wedding music.
Party in the USA.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like an FA came up to me and he's like, man, this is like the same music they play at every weddings. And I was like, I know. I was like, just wait. Like I gave him a playlist with a bunch of songs that he's gonna
Wait,
pick
you
from.
gave him the playlist?
I gave the DJ asked me for a giant list of songs that he could pull from for the dance party. And we told him, we said, dude, we just want this to be like a dance party. Like we don't
Mhm.
want this to be like a wedding. We want it just to feel like a dance party. And so um yeah, all of a sudden uh everyone had kind of settled down, and then Travis Scott came on like blasting to the speakers. I like looked at FA, I was like, dude, I told you I was gonna get some sick music. And like that's when the party started, bro. He opened it up with Butterfly Effect by Travis
I was
Scott.
literally thinking, I was like, that's probably what he opened with.
Because it was just like, playing normal music, and everyone's kind of like, yeah, this is just like what we hear at every single wedding. And then it was like Travis Scott, which you don't usually hear at weddings. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I've,
everyone went ham. And then from like 8:45, 9ish to like 11, it was just the dance floor was completely full. And then the DJ was like, all right, guys, we got to wrap it up. Like it was 11 o'clock at night. I did not think it would go that late. Like I was thinking 10, everyone's going to
yeah.
leave. It went till 11, and then everyone was complaining the music was stopping. And I was like, dang, like I go to Utah weddings and like it's like 10:30 and everyone's gone
Yeah.
and you're wrapping up. And so it was so much fun. We also did, we did want like a tiny ceremony type thing just for the people who missed out. So Riley did bring her wedding dress because all her extended family and friends never got to see her in it.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. So she brought it out there. And we, the ceremony we did, it's like, you may have heard of it. It's a sand ceremony where you pour it into an hourglass. And so it's like, it's really pretty. It took like 5 minutes. Wendy read it, and it's like this pretty, it's
You're just
very
like
poetic.
sitting there for 5 minutes. You're like,
oh my gosh, when is the music gonna start? But it's like we each had our own things, and it's like Riley pours her sand in, I pour my sand in, and then we pour it together. And it's like symbolizing us becoming one, and our
Oh, cool.
individual things will never be individuals again. Like we're one now. And so the hourglass is over there, and then one of the glass vials I filled up with some sand from Fort Monroe.
Oh, sweet.
That's where like Riley
Is that where
did
you
right there.
proposed?
Yeah, and that's where I
Okay.
proposed. So the last day I went to Fort Monroe and got some sand. But anyways, so that was special. And then we played the videographer that videoed like our wedding in December. We played that video. It's like 6 minutes. We played it up on a huge projector for everybody to see, just so people could kind of get a feel like, hey, we already got married. Here's kind of what happened. Here's a little ceremony type thing. And then it was just a party. It was sick. It
That
was
sounds
so fun.
sweet.
Yeah, it
And
was
she,
so much fun.
Wendy's been putting a lot of work into that, so it's pretty cool
Tons.
to see that come into fruition, man. Like
Oh yeah,
you made it happen.
dude, she's been at
She's
the
been grinding on that since you were like since you were like talking about getting
oh,
married.
oh yeah, she's been grinding on that forever. And that's like one of the nicest venues in Hampton and Newport News. Like it's booked out with weddings all the time. Like it's such a sick venue. I mean, you kind of saw a glimpse of it. Like
Right. I'm
it's
sure it was just
it's a sweet
huge.
venue and very big and like a huge dance floor. Oh, and then Riley and her dad did a choreographed dance.
I looked at Amber's story and I saw like part of it and I was like, what the heck is
Dude, it
going
was
on?
sick. So Riley went out. So Wendy has a friend who works at the gymnastics gym, I think, who is just she's good at choreographing.
I'm good at choreographing.
Do me too. Just kidding.
No.
But anyway, so Riley picked a song that she wanted to dance with her dad with. Like Riley started talking about this like a long time ago, like probably in the winter. And so she sent that song to the lady. The lady choreographed a dance. And when Riley went out in June, because she went out to Virginia in June, she learned the dance. And so then she taught her dad the dance the week before the wedding, and they practiced a bunch out in the garage getting drenched in sweat. So they practiced a bunch and they put on a show, man. Like it was flawless and everyone was going ham. Like it was so much fun to just kind of have like that little intermission where the DJ was like, all right, everybody off the dance floor. Like Riley and her dad got a special treat or whatever. And they killed it. It was so fun.
Dang. That's sweet. You guys kind of got like 2 wedding parties. It's like that's the way to do it, man.
Yeah, because I didn't care. I've never cared. Like I've like most dudes, I've never thought about my wedding. Like I've never thought about colors or venues or all like it's like I don't care.
I just want to get married, you know.
Yeah, but I always did want a dance party because I love partying, and so when COVID came around and no dance parties allowed, they only allowed us to do like the mother son father daughter dance. Like they allowed that, but like barely. They're like, yeah,
Right.
you guys can do that, but that's it. And
You're
so
like, okay.
yeah, super lame. And so that's like all we wanted. We're like, we just want this to be a freaking dance party because we didn't get that. And so it was so much fun. And we did get a lot of money.
Presents.
Yeah, because like all of our stuff had already been off on the registry. We just got tons of cash.
Oh.
And so you know what I did with the cash? I bought another plane ticket for December.
Really?
So we're going out for Christmas. Cause like, oh, this is a cool story. So like I just have really been cultivating the belief that like money will be there for me.
Oh, it is right. Yeah.
Dude, this is like trippy. And it's not like so I've been cultivating this belief for like a couple of years now. Like I work on it consciously. And anytime I start to get into that like feeling of lack where I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't have enough money for that, blah, blah, blah. Like I just like get aware of that. And I'm like, no, like just trust God. I have the money will be there when I need it. And so, this whole trip, I was thinking like, oh yeah, I seriously wasn't having like anxiety or anything about this, but I was like, oh man, we got to get the plane tickets for Christmas. And, it's Christmas tickets.
Plane tickets aren't cheap.
Yeah.
So.
And it's like Christmas plane tickets are even more expensive because we bought these ones for August way back in like March. So we got them for less than $900 for both of us round trip, which was like a steal.
Right.
And anyways, so I was like, man, they're going to be probably more than that. We need to get them like right now. Like I want to buy them this week. And, so I was thinking, man, we're going to have to budget some money around and sacrifice a few things for a while. And I like 100% for some reason just wasn't expecting to get any money from this party. I don't know why. It just like wasn't.
I mean, it's not like a wedding, so you're not really like expecting it.
Yeah, because to me it was just like, oh yeah, this is just a celebration. Like we already had our wedding, we already got our gifts and stuff, and so I just wasn't expecting it. And then so that day I'm just thinking, oh yeah, we got to get our plane tickets. And then so the party was on last Friday, so then on Saturday Wendy brings in like this big box and it's like full of letters. Like it was on a table at the wedding where people could put letters in. And she's like, you and Riley need to go through all these letters. And I was like, what the heck? And it was like a stack like this big. And like every single one of them had cash in it. And we're counting like as we're going, and I'm writing thank you notes as Riley's opening them. And it was like, Riley's like, oh, boom, another $100 bill. Oh, two $100 bills. Oh, a $50 Visa gift card. And she's just like adding it up. And so she gets to like 1,500. And I'm like, that's our plane tickets. And then she keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. Then like 2,500. And I'm like, dang, son, like we could buy, let's get first class. No, just kidding.
You're like, we're buying a house. We're buying a house
right now. Yeah, it's like when you're a kid and like your dad gives you like $5 for mowing the lawn. You're like, that's it. I'm so rich.
I'm moving out.
Dad, I'm moving out.
I'm
running away, Dad.
No, it's been interesting. Like for me too. I've been having like similar thoughts. Like, right. Like it's just so like God blesses you with so many opportunities to just like he cares about you being financially stable, especially when you have like a a higher purpose to it. Like for you it's to take care of you and your wife, and for me is to continue to prepare for that, and just to be able, like, I want, like, once I meet my wife, I want to just be able to like spoil her. I want to be able to, like, not once I met my wife, after I've met my wife, to be able to just like spoil her and just be able to, like, just give her the world. And so like it's just really motivating to continue to make money. And it's just like crazy. Like I don't even know if I told you, but like I think I did, but like this guy at Dixie State in the foundation, like the sports fundraising department, has been trying to get me to come work for him for a while.
Yeah.
And I went in and just like I don't know what I'm gonna do if they offer me. Like, I don't know if I would take it or not because I got school going on. But anyways, long story short, it's just like kind of crazy how like he's like, man, I maybe only am gonna need like 10 hours from you, 10 to 12 hours a week, and they're gonna be probably offering like $15 an hour, and it's just like, dude, that's just gonna be like extra like side money that's really gonna be. I mean, it's just gonna be simple like graphic design stuff, and it's just like kind of crazy how like just God is just continuing to. I mean, I got like so much shoes that I'm selling right now. I got my seminary kicking back up, and it's crazy, man. Like God, he's pretty good at taking care of you.
Yeah, it's been tripping me out because I've looked back on this, like this first year, I guess, of like being married so far, and I'm like, it's not like we've had this huge surplus of money, but the money's always been there. Like that's the thing. Like when I say this, like for anyone who's listening, I'm not saying like Riley and I have been having this giant surplus of money, but what I am saying is that the money has literally always been there. Like Riley's car, we took it to the mechanic, has a bunch of problems, and like problems that are pretty, like, they need to be fixed like ASAP. And it's a lot of money, and it's like, oh dang, we don't have right now, we don't have that money in the bank just to be dropping it like that. And so it's like, oh well, I'll go see if I can get a loan out. My dad's like, go see if you can get a loan. That's a good opportunity to build credit and whatnot. And it's like first time ever taking a loan out. So I'm like, are they even going to give me a loan that's $3,000? Like, I don't even know if they're going to do that. And then it's like, boom, my credit score already is at the number where you get the best loans like possible. And so I'm like, dang, the money's there. And that's partly due to because that one's because I was honoring my father and my mother, because they told me to get a credit card when I got home from my mission and use it as a debit card. Right. Like buy gas with it, pay it off, buy groceries with it, pay it off. And so I've done that for 18 months and it got my credit score to 760. So it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. And so it's like, but I don't know. I just have this belief that it's like money will be there for you. And if you're anyone who talks about money psychology, like they'll talk about how you should never pinch pennies. Like when it comes down to dollars or pennies, like don't negotiate that. It's like pay the extra $5, or like if you're it's good to be smart and budget money, right. But if you're penny pinching, like I'm talking like trying to talk some dude down another $10, something like that, It's like, that's just bad energy. It's just like,
I do that on Marketplace. I'm just
well,
like, come on, man. Like, I'll buy your shoes I'll do 60. He's like, all right, sounds good. And it was like 75 or whatever.
no, yeah, see, but it's like with car, for example, like some people would just, it's almost like an ego pride thing, but they'll just be like, come on, man, instead of like 5,500, like do like 54.95. And it's like, dude, just buy the freaking car.
Just do it.
But it's like, you know, the principle is like, if you're constantly trying to hold on to money, then it's just gonna keep flowing past you.
Yeah. No,
Dude,
I
tell
feel
them the
like
currency thing.
well, I was just thinking, I was like, it's almost like trying to hold water. Like it's not going to work. Like
Yeah.
you can hold only so much amount of water in your hands, but it's like, what if you just get a freaking inner tube and go down the river with it? And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, that's kind of like the mentality I feel like me and you try and have. Obviously, we don't have like a river full of money yet, but it's almost like I feel like we try and like we have the, you know, you always talked about how money comes and goes. It's a currency. And so it's just like kind of interesting to be able to like, I almost feel like you need to be putting money out there to be able to get it back.
You do. You have to.
I mean, that's just like an eternal law, you know.
It's the law of sacrifice.
You send out stuff, it's going to come back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's interesting, like especially with shoes, it's like, you know I need to be, you know, like I need to be buying shoes, but then it's also like I see I'm selling more shoes when I'm out there buying more shoes. And obviously like I stay in the plus margins. I'm not just like buying a bunch of shoes and going into the negative, but it's like it's just like kind of crazy how when you aren't like scared to spend money, and obviously you got to be smart about it, but it's just like it's crazy how it just keeps coming back to you.
Oh yeah, and that's what's been tripping me out. Well, one of the main things that I've had like an epiphany of just over the past couple of years since I've been working on this, like money psychology. We'll have to dedicate a whole podcast to it. Yeah, man. But so this idea, see, I want to like articulate this well, but basically, I mean, in my rough terms from like right off the dome, um a lot of people think in money in terms like if I spend $10, that $10 is gone. Like bye, never coming back. And so it's like, no, that $10 will come back. But people see, I don't know the best way to explain this. I hope people understand what I'm saying, because it's like, okay, I want to tell a story, but like I'm kind of hesitant because this person, like I see them every day. And so like if they hear this, I don't want them to think I'm like, I think less of them or I'm talking crap. It's just I'm just curious, and I'm coming at it purely psychological. Like they know me, they know I'm obsessed with psychology. So when I interact with people, I'm automatically curious at their behavior. And I'm
Right.
not in like a judgmental, like I can't believe they would do that, but in like a I wonder
Wonder
why they did that. That's super interesting. Like I want to, and so I'm not triggered by this at all.
Right.
But anyways, so I'm going to try to keep this as anonymous as possible, and who knows, they may not even ever hear this. But a couple weeks ago, about a month ago, there was a person on my sales team who got promoted, and this person always had like this blanket with them, and it was just kind of an old blanket. It was special to them. It was their grandmother's blanket, so it's, you know, it was special to them. But we just thought it would be a fun idea if we all pitched in and got them a minky, like a nice blanket, just a little travel size one, like just enough for your lap. And so I live right by a minky store.
They like bring it to work.
Yeah, it would be their work one. Like that was our idea, was, hey, this is a little travel size one that you can keep on your lap at work, and it's a nice blanket. And so I live right next to the minky store, like 5 minutes away. So I told my boss, I was like, dude, I'll just go buy one and you guys can just Venmo me, because you know it's like 100 and something bucks. Like it's not like
They're not cheap.
I mean, this thing is like 3x3 and it's like
I want to
over
be the
$100.
inventor. I don't know what their profit margins are. It's got to be insane. There's no
Oh.
way it costs more than $5 to make that blanket.
Oh, no way, dude. And then they're just selling these things for like $200.
And like every family in Utah has one, at least one.
Yeah, they have a whole store, bro,
Oh my
dedicated to it, and it
gosh.
does so well. Like they have this giant building down there by the Super Target, and they're able to lease that thing, and because they're making so much money. Anyways, long story short, I buy the blanket. Everyone Venmos me $10. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we all pitch in $10. We buy this super nice blanket. So everyone Venmos me $10. Cool. It's history. I forget about it. And a couple days ago, I'm in Virginia. It's my last day, so it's Tuesday. I wake up to a text from one of the people who Venmoed me, and they basically said, I can tell you more details off air, but they basically said, hey man, can I get that $10 back? Like, I didn't think that through well enough or whatever. And I'm like, okay, like I'm not mad. Like $10 to me is like,
You're
I
like,
value
whatever.
money, and like you
Right.
need we've talked about this, you have to value the pennies if you want to value the $1 million. So you got to value all of it, and I do value $10, but I'm not like tied to $10. Like to me it's like
Mhm.
it's $10. It's like $10 comes and goes every single day. Like every single day I make over $100. Like it's coming and going. It's not like $10 is this huge deal to me. And so I was like, I automatically had the question in my mind. I'm like, is this worth the debate? Like, hey man, you
Mhm.
told me you were going to pay me. Like, no, I'm not giving it back. And I was like, to me, honestly, right now, no. So I said, sure thing, man. And I Venmoed the $10 back. And
You should have done like $9.99.
that'd be funny. Or, yeah, dude. But anyways, it was like super interesting to me that uh the $10 was such a big deal to them, and it had been over a month. And so this illustrates my point better. They, in their mind, so it had been a month since they had spent that $10. Well, do you know they've gotten 2 paycheck checks since then, and they've probably made $2,000 with those 2 paychecks. So did the $10 get replaced already? Yeah, by like 200% or whatever, 20%. Like it got replaced back by a lot. But in their mind, the $10 was still gone.
Hmm.
And so they're like, dude, I need the $10 back. And it's like, in my mind, I'm like, well, you got paid already. Your money's already back. But I wasn't going to argue. It just wasn't worth it to me. And I honestly wasn't triggered. Like, I was just really curious. I was like, that's really weird that somebody would do that. But like, sure, have the $10 back. Like, whatever. Like, I'll make that money back tomorrow at work.
Make it back right now.
Like, boom. Like, I'll
I
make it
just
back.
I just made it right now.
Me too. I just made $100,000 like in the 5 minutes we've been talking. But anyways, so that's the point. That story helps illustrate the point of like, in their mind, the $10 that they spent a month ago was still gone. And if you're thinking in that pattern, then it's like lack. It's
Mhm.
an energy of lack. And then what's interesting is then you're going to attract less and less money, and then you're always worried about money, and then you start saying things like, oh, I can't afford that, I don't have the money for that, oh, I don't have the money, oh man, I don't have any money, oh, my bank account is always so low. And then that's what becomes
Guess what?
true
It's
for
gonna
you.
stay low.
Yeah, that's going to become true for you. But I choose to believe that the money's always there for me. And it has been. And I'm not, and like I said, it's not like I've had this giant surplus in my bank account all the time. There have been times where there was a big surplus, but there's been times where it was close.
I mean, you guys are newlyweds. Like, it's not, you guys aren't gonna be freaking loaded right
Yeah,
off the
like there's been
bat.
times where it was close, and I was like I opened my bank account and I'm like, I haven't seen it this low in like 4 years. What the
Mhm.
freak? Like this has happened twice since I've been married, where I've opened up my bank account one day, just like, oh, let's see. Oh my gosh. And instantly my brain's like fight or flight, dude, you don't have money. Oh, you can't afford blah 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 blah. And I'm like, shh, the money will be there for me. And then boom, it's here for me. It's here. And then, I'm not even going to talk about the healthy food and stuff like that, but it's like, it's here for that too. And I believe
Right.
that. I believe that it's going to be there for me. And so, and it always has been. And so anyways, I just hope that story helps illustrate. And again, I don't think any less of this person. I just was truly interested. And I think
Right.
it's you can learn stuff from people. And I think it's a good lesson that it's like the $10 that you spent a month ago has been replaced. It has already come. It went and it already came back. So think about it that way. It's like it goes and then it comes back. Don't think about it as like, oh, like $10 goes away and it's gone forever. It's like, no, it comes back. It is always coming back. And so when you think about it that way, then it's the currency. It's called currency because it's always moving. And exactly what you said, it's like you have to keep the money moving. So Kirk Duncan, hundreds of $1,000s in debt, has literally planned out how to kill himself, and then boom, has a life-changing experience. Now he's a personal life coach and has been for like close to 20 years, I think. And I think last I checked, he was worth over $10 million. and he did this in his 40s. Like it's not
Mhm.
like he was young. Like he did this in his 40s. And he has a whole CD, because when he was getting clout, they were just CDs. Like podcasts weren't really a thing. So I've listened to that CD, and it's called Money Friends, and he talks all about money. And he says, he's like, you're not going to like this, but you have to keep the money moving. If you're hoarding all the money, then the flow stops. But if you keep the money moving via spending and donating and things like that, then
Or even just
then
like
you'll
reinvesting it into something
reinvesting,
else.
things like that, keeping it moving. And then
I
Tony
mean, that makes
Robbins,
sense because like when something's all dusty in your room or something, it's just stagnant and it almost just has like these weird like vibes to it. Like I went and like cleaned my desk off like the other day and just like got all the dust off, and it just, even though it's like everything's in the same place, even though everything like you just dust it off and it just like feels better. It's like the same like kind of like psychology where it's like you don't want your money. I mean when you have tons of money, like you probably will just have some sitting around, but it's just like, you don't want it to, you don't want really anything in your life to be stagnant, including your money.
yeah, not to mention inflation. I mean, just on a practical term, if you're only putting money in a savings account, you're losing money every single year. Like that's just practical. It's like, well, bye bye. There goes your money every single year. I mean, 2 to 4%, and that's on a good day, and it's kind of more steeper than that now. So it's like every year you're losing 2 to 4% if it's just sitting in a savings account, and your little dividends that come in are not going to make that up. You have
Dude,
to be moving it. But Tony Robbins quoted some guy. So he didn't say this. He quoted some dude that he interviewed for his financial book that he wrote. So I don't know who the guy's name is. I wish I could remember, and I don't even remember what the quote was exactly. But
I mean, that's
it's,
what we do here. We just say, I think someone
yeah,
said
man.
this.
Someone probably said this sometimes, dude. That was so funny when Jackson's like, "Oh, someone said this sometime." And you're like, "Yeah, we don't know any of the quotes. Like, actually, we just guess." But
Yeah.
anyways, this guy who's like a financial person his whole life, so he said this from experience. He's like, I have never seen somebody who has donated, who has paid their tithing, so the 10% rule. And he's like, it doesn't have to go to a church. He's just saying like
Right.
who has put 10% of their money into a charity or their church or something like that. He's like, I've never seen anybody who's paid their tithing financially insecure ever in my life.
I was just going to ask you that. I was going to say, what are your thoughts on how tithing relates to that? Because I honestly believe, I'm like how, like, not that there aren't members of the church that struggle with money. Like I fully understand that not everyone is just freaking loaded, but it's like you'd rarely hear about, members of the church or young single adults or young married couples like you and Riley that just like are in the church and they just go broken or like homeless. It's like you just don't hear stories like
Like they
that.
might struggle a little bit. And that's what the guy's saying. He's like, financially insecure, like you need rent support from the government for 6 months and you're in thousands of dollars of debt and you're barely on your last leg with food. It's like he's never seen any of that if somebody pays tithing. You might see
Right.
somebody struggle, like, oh crap, like gas is kind of steep right now. We need to back up, whatever. But they've always had the money.
Right.
And so I think that's part of it. I think so. I just am such a deep thinker. I do have a lot of doubts about everything like religion and spirituality, but I honestly like just don't doubt tithing. Like I never really have. It's always, that's been one of the things that's pretty easy for me, just because I truly believe that if you keep the money moving, then it'll keep coming back. And so tithing has just been pretty easy for me in my life. Like,
It's one of the most tangible commandments because it's literally, you see, all right, $10, I put $1 aside, and then like you just start to see the blessings like
yeah.
for it.
And
It's crazy.
yeah. And it's like, I just, I remember paying tithing on my, because we didn't pay tithing on our missions because we didn't make any money. And so it was weird when I came home and I started doing pest control, and I got a huge chunk of change, and I was like, dang, this is like the most tithing I've ever paid. Like,
Dude,
um,
paying a ton of tithing feels so cool.
yeah, it was crazy. I told my dad, I was like, but but I knew it would come back. Like it
Right.
wasn't like, oh man, like I think it was something, this one paycheck, it wasn't one of the back ends, it was one of the ones in the summer. But I mean, it was one of my bigger ones. I think it was like 3 grand or something. So I'm like, dang, like $300. Like that's a lot just to be like, boom, out of my bank account. And this is where the intangible part of the commandment comes is like, I don't. So if I spend $300 on something physical, then I it's a trade. Here's the
Mhm.
$300. Oh, look, here's my microphone or my laptop or my TV or whatever. So it's like, oh, cool, like here it is. But with that one, it's like, here's the $300, and I'm trusting that good things are gonna come.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's trust. But I really believe that if you do it, and I think intention matters. I mean, if you're paying tithing, or if you're not religious and you're giving money to a charity each paycheck or something like that, same thing. Like so that's another thing I
Right.
wanted to preface. Like when I'm saying tithing, and when that guy that I quoted, who I don't know his name, when he's saying tithing, he's meaning just 5, at least 5, but like 10% of your money goes to some good organization. And anyways, it's like, I believe it's coming back. And the intention is very important. And if you're doing it with a bad intention, I guess that's better than not doing it at all. But I think intention is really important, that it's like, okay, first off, I trust this money is going somewhere good, and then it's going to help somebody out there. And I may never ever meet them in my whole life, but I just trust it's going to do some good. And then second off, I believe, one, the money's going to come back sooner than later. The money's always going to be there, and blessings are going to come. And so it's like, if you
Right.
just have that, it just cultivates trust. And like when you trust the universe and trust God, then your life is just going to be a lot better. I mean, you literally get to choose if you want the universe to be against you or for you. It's just a perception change.
I mean, the promise of Malachi is that the windows of heaven will be opened up unto you. And it's like, it's literally like what you said. It's like, all right, the windows of heaven, i.e., the
Mm,
universe, is like literally those blessings are now opened up unto you. And it's like,
yeah.
it's crazy to think, I almost try, I don't do it all the time, but like whenever I read that scripture, when I talk about that promise, I visualize, a window above me opening up, and just like, I just think of like blessing, whether it's money or whether it's, job opportunity, just like I just visualize, just blessings pouring on me. And it's like, that's literally like what's happening. And that's almost like for like what you're saying, when I buy a pair of shoes, you pay $150, you get a pair of shoes. And for me, that's almost like, and again, I don't do it, every single time, so I probably should get back to it, but it's like, that's kind of like the visual, like physical thing for me, where, sometimes it can be like, all right, I pay my tithing, those are the blessings that are now on me. And you almost feel like the universe is on your side again and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. It's a principle. My mom always says this. She's like, tithing is just a principle of abundance. So it's just living in abundance, because abundance doesn't mean I know there's enough for me. Abundance means there's enough for everybody in the whole entire world. And a lot of people don't believe that. And fair enough, I get it, because there's a lot of poverty in the world. So I can see how you would believe that. But it's like, if you truly believe that there's enough to go around, and when I say enough, money, blessings, food, whatever, like we'll just say blessings to keep it simple, but there's enough to go around. And so it's a principle of abundance, because it's like, there's enough money to go around for everybody. There's enough currency to go around for everybody. There's enough love to go around for everybody. There's enough whatever to go around for everybody. There is enough. And so, but if you're in the, oh my gosh, my $10, I need my $10, like, oh, I already spent that a month ago, but I need it back. It's like, because he needed that $10 back. He didn't need the 2 grand that he got on his paycheck. He needed that exact $10 back. That's the thing. It's like, so it's like in his mind, he's visualizing like, this $10 bill, it has this crease here, this rip here. I need that one back, or else it doesn't count. And it's like, well, what about the paycheck? You just got $1,200 in your paycheck. That the $10 came back times 12. Like, you got your money. But
No,
yeah.
it's interesting how many people have like, and I wouldn't, it kind of sounds mean to say it, but like poor money. It's not like really money management, but it's money mentality. It's so crazy to me, especially
Money
kids our
mentality, which translates into their money management
right. And it's
unconsciously.
it's crazy, like as you're talking about this, because I had like a similar experience where, my sister came across, someone that she hadn't talked to in a little bit. It was just, my sister started producing shirts and stuff like that. And she was just telling her about it, and just like, they used to be like pretty good friends. And the girl's like, yeah, I don't have $30 to spend on your shirt, and she's like college age, and it's just like, seriously, you don't have $30 to spend on a shirt? And like, I understand like budgeting and stuff, but it's like, I mean, I am probably coming across a little judgmental, but it's just like, I don't ever want to be in position where, I run into someone and it's like, I can't like help support them, in that kind of way, or like, I don't know. It was just like kind of mind blowing to me because it's just like such a form. Like I don't even know if I've ever thought like that, where it's just like had such little money. Where I don't.
And you know
Um,
what? You know why you've probably never thought like that? Because your parents. Because your money mentality, what your money mentality is, and when I say you, I'm talking about whoever in the
right.
world, is because your parents, or if you didn't have
Yeah.
a mom or a dad or whatever, whoever raised you, whoever had like the most influence on you as a child. It can be very subjective because it could have been a teacher who was in, say, your second grade teacher who put the idea into your mind that there's not enough money to go around and that the rich people are out to get you. But it's your parents, because if parents, if you're 4 years old and you're sitting at dinner and you're all happy, and then your dad comes home and he just got laid off, and your mom's like, oh crap, like we don't have money to pay the bills, and then you start hearing these things, it's going to start getting ingrained into your head. And then, oh man, no, we don't have money to go on a camping trip. We don't have money to take our kids to Disneyland. We don't have money, blah, 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 blah. We don't have money to buy nice clothes. We don't have money to do this. And then that
It's
kid,
the same thing as having an aim. If your aim is we don't have enough money, then everything's going
you're
to
going to
start
attain that
to
every single time. And it's like, and then the kid adopts that as truth. And so then the kid gets, you're literally screwing your kids over. And the sad thing is I'm not blaming the parents. To a degree I am, on a very like objective way, but it's like, it's not fully the parents' fault, because
right
their
because the kid
parents were
still
like
has
that.
their
And
choice.
yeah, and their parents were like that. Well, and also it's because it's like their parents were like that, and their parents were like that, and then their parents were like that, and then their parents were like that. And the reason their parents were like that was because they did live in poverty. They grew up in the Great
Right.
Depression, and people who grew up in the Great Depression are ingrained like that. There's not enough to go around. We have to save everything. Don't get rid of that. Don't get rid of that. No, we need that. No, we don't need new shoes. Just wear those till you literally have holes in the bottoms and your socks get holes in them, because, and
And
it's
then
like,
eat them. Yeah.
yeah, and then eat the leather on them. All right. Gosh. But it's like that mentality has just been passed down through generations. Um, and it's changeable. Subconscious patterns are always changeable, but it's not like it's this easy to change a subconscious pattern. It's easier
Right.
than you think, but it definitely takes a lot of work, and typically the best way to do that is through meditation. But anyways, that's for another day.
No, I just like look at my dad and like his family growing up, like neither of my parents' families growing up were really well off. I mean, they usually had enough,
Yeah, that's how
but
my
like
parents were. Like they weren't super rich growing up, but they had enough.
but
They're
my mom would always like grow up telling me like your dad is so good with money. Like that's like I just remember like I can, like you just have things your parents would always tell you. That was one of them. My mom would say dad is always good with money. And so it like kind of developed like this trait in me that like, well, if dad's good with money, I'm good with money too. And it's like, what if she would have said, we don't have enough money, or like, and obviously like we weren't like done with our money, like, but it's like, we can't buy this candy bar, or like, just like kind of like that mentality, like where would I be in my life if that had been instilled in me, versus like telling this 4-year old your dad's really good at money. And that's kind of like what you're instilling in me, is like you're going
yeah.
to be really good with money too. And so like I don't like, it's just kind of crazy. Like I like now that we're talking about it, I'm just kind of realizing that subconsciously, my parents were setting me up for success, probably without even knowing it. My mom was probably genuinely just complimenting my dad, but it's like kind of crazy how they were able to have like, go from, and obviously like we're not like billionaires or millionaires, whatever, but it's like to go from, just kind of like a middle class, family, to them being like able to have sufficient for our needs. And it's just like kind of crazy how that just starts with a mindset shift. And it's like literally, obviously you have to work hard, but it's like it starts with that mindset shift. And I don't think people realize, like you can just shift your mindset and watch like your money mindset, money management just change. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it starts to turn into unconscious. Like for me, it's not really, I'm very, I'm like very high in openness, like personality trait. So I'm very creative. And so I'm fair with my left brain, but I'm very like right brain oriented with a lot of things. And so with numbers, for example, it's like um I'm not like the type of person who like can't do math at all. Like I actually did pretty well in math, but it's not my forte. Like I do much better with just like more abstract ideas. So with money management, maybe I feel like I need to get better at this, but I don't keep like a super regimented budget and things like that. I keep a Reiss budget in my mind where I check my bank account like every day or so, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I see where the numbers are at. Cool. And And so that's kind of how I do it. But I have this energy of like, the money's going to be there. And so subconsciously, the money's always been there because I think just in times where, because I mean, Riley and I bought, um, back in the winter, we bought like 2 or 4 plane tickets for this upcoming year. Like we dropped a ton of money, and like I'm sure I probably only had like $500 in my bank account for a while. And um but it's like I was like, yeah, the money is going to be there, like whatever. And the money's just always been here. And so like subconsciously, when I bought the plane tickets, it's like I wasn't even looking at new like workout clothes or anything like that that I wanted to buy. Just unconsciously, I wasn't on Amazon looking at things. And then when I have a surplus, it's like, oh, I'll look on Amazon for some like new supplements or new clothes or whatever. And so it really starts to turn into an unconscious thing. And I'm not saying like don't keep a budget, like that's something I want to get better at and whatnot, but I am saying that a lot of these things are just unconscious. And why do you think a lot of times kids who grew up with rich parents who had really good money energy, and they it just comes natural for
It's
them?
not like, yeah, everyone thinks, oh, their parents just gave it to them, and sometimes that's the case. Like,
And so yeah, definitely that's true sometimes.
but it's like, well, I mean, it kind of makes sense because they saw how their parents were successful with their money, and guess what you instill in your kids, they do. And so if you're telling your kids all the time, we're poor, we don't have enough money, and obviously, like, someone down the road had to get rich, and so it's like then their kids are just going to be anyways. But it's just like, it's not a coincidence that a lot of the time, really rich families, a lot of the times they stay rich. And so it's just like, and then that's getting into the whole like white white people being rich and successful in America is racist. But it's like, well, I don't anyways.
Dude, that's a deep subject. I want to like get my thoughts down on that better, because like part of the reason why I've been thinking about, I don't even know if I like, I'm just so confused about where I want to live. It's really hard having family across the country, and here it's really like tripping me out. And because like Riley and I both feel at home in Virginia. Like we both do. But when we're here, I feel at home because I grew up in this state, but Riley still kind of feels like it's a visit, like she's visiting.
Right.
And so it's like, I think about that. I'm like, man, like, should we move to Virginia while we don't have kids? Like, should we raise a family there? Maybe, maybe not. But like, should we at least live there while we're newlyweds? And it's like, but one of the main things I've been thinking about, this is me getting like, I guess, kind of more like vulnerable with my thoughts, but Riley and I want to be life coaches, and that's what
Right.
we're working towards. And I've often thought, well, I want to go a step deeper than just helping people like you and I mean, that's like going to be the main part of my business, but I also want to start some organization that helps these communities. Like after living in Virginia for so long and just seeing these communities where their ancestors were slaves in this country,
Right.
like it just breaks my heart, because I see, if you look at the, because if you look at the discrepancies, it's like, yeah, there's a lot more poor black people than white people in this country. And it's like, if you look at that, if you're looking at that through a political lens, you're totally missing the point. It's like, screw politics. Politics is not going to save you. Politics is so stupid. The government's going to fail one day and you're not going to have a government. Then what are you going to do? You need to learn how to govern yourself. Like, the government is trash, dude. Like, if you're trusting politicians, it's like you're putting your trust in the arm of man. It's like what the scriptures say. It's like, don't do that.
I just read that scripture like yesterday, and I was
Really?
just like, all right, or maybe like 2 days ago, and it was just like, like after the whole church vaccine announcement came out, everyone's just pooping their pants here in Utah, and so it's just like crazy, like to not, and obviously like I haven't even formulated my thoughts on that, but it's just like crazy how many people are just like putting their trust in the arm of flesh and are like willing to lose, like just like people like are leaving the church over like this, and it's like, what the crap, like look, anyways, it's just, yeah, I
Yeah.
was
And
just agreeing
so,
with what you're saying.
no, yeah, it's like, don't put your trust in the arm of flesh. Like, politics is not the answer. So if you're looking at social issues only through a political lens, it has some utility. Politics do. Obviously, they do. Obviously, our country wouldn't be what it is without it. So I'm not throwing it to the curb. I'm not that stupid. But you need to look at it from a psychological and a spiritual point of view, because if you look at it from a psychological / spiritual point of view, you see, well, the slaves, they did have poor mindsets, obviously, because they were poor and they were treated like
Right.
crap. And so they were victims. Therefore, they had a victim mentality that was 100% justified. And people still emerged from it, side note,
Right.
which is amazing. Most of us wouldn't have. And so it was justified to a degree. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, it's kind of like if you were in the concentration camps, like we read from that book, Man's Search for Meaning. It's like, yeah, you're a victim, but it doesn't give you the right to just, like, he told that story of how when they were liberated, one of his buddies was about to walk over the oat field, and Viktor Frankl said, "Hey man, maybe we shouldn't do that. Like, we don't want to ruin this guy's crops." And he's like, "Really? After 3 years of us being in the concentration camps, you're worried about ruining some guy's crops?" And he's like, and he said, "No matter how wrongly you've been treated, it doesn't give you the right to do wrong to others." So that's a spiritual principle. But anyways, back to the psychology of, I guess, what's kind of going on in America. I've thought a lot about this because you have the people on the left who are like, this country's so like systemically racist and it's just oppressive and blah 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 blah. And then you have the right where it's like the far right where they're like, no, it's not, like everyone's fine, just you're good, you're good, you're good. And it's like, okay, the truth is somewhere in the middle. There is a lot of, I mean, black people have just been like smacked down over and over and over again. But I think deeper than that is the psychology. They were victims, therefore then they're liberated, like with the law. Now they have the exact same rights as everyone else in this country, which is true. So the politics is cleared up, right? But the psychology is the same. They passed on that victim mentality to their kids, and then to their kids, and then to their kids. And so is it surprising to see so many people in these poor government housing communities in the inner cities in Baltimore and even like in Portsmouth and Norfolk and stuff? Is that it's like, it's not completely surprising because of the psychology, not the politics. It's like, you have to see, this is,
and then it makes you want to
yeah,
help them learn how to change their
yes.
mindset. And it's
so
not like, I'm not saying like, black people are all poor, but it's like you want to help these people with poor, mentalities and poor psychology. It motivates you to want to help them because you realize if you change your mentality, you are able to change your situation in your future. It doesn't matter what your past has been. Through your mentality and through your actions, you can change your future. And so it's just like, regardless of, the cards you've been dealt, like, I mean, like you see NBA players, like a lot of them have come from crazy hard backgrounds, but they're able to become very successful. You want to know why? Because they're able to find something to like motivate them and drive them to be really successful at. And it's like it took a mindset shift because anyway, it's just like crazy how just a little tweak, and then it makes you want to do that for other people.
Yeah, and so that's my point with like thinking about Virginia. I'm like, I'm not saying there's not people in Utah that need help, because obviously there's going to be people that need help everywhere you go, always. But in Virginia, it's just, I've lived in these towns. I mean, I lived in Portsmouth, man, and like Portsmouth, like there was this one road we would drive on that just, there's just probably 50 people outside every single day, and they're just all struggling and they're surviving. They're in complete survival mode. And it's like, dude, you live in one of the greatest countries in the world. You should be in thrive mode. But they're not, because of their psychology. It's not the politics. It's like the politics to a degree, maybe for a while, but we're kind of past that now. I think most of it got cleared up since like the 80s, 90s, latest. It's like, since being in this decade, or this century rather, the 2000s, it's like the politics is pretty much cleared up. Like, you have the same rights, same housing rights now, because they used to make them live in certain neighborhoods. Like, you have same housing rights now. Like, everything's cleared up. We're all equal now, just like the Bible said, and just like how we should have done it in the first place, but we didn't. You can't change the past, so accept that and let's move on. But it's like, but the psychology, man, they've never been taught how to emerge from the poor psychology. And so I want to go into these places, I don't know, maybe set up like education centers, like a school type thing, where it's like, come to this self-development school and learn how to change your mindset so you can get out of here.
All the Planned Parenthoods in the cities.
That's a good idea. And then just give the big, I'll just flip a bird over to the government, be like, screw you guys. Like, you guys, all this talk
like,
about,
why don't you do that instead of, and like, I feel like politics, like, people just say it and it gets a bad connotation because it is like stupid to like, put your trust in that. But I almost just view it as it's the important human issues in it, but then you put politics on it and then it's like you have to pick a side. And I don't think that's what God intended with politics, is to make people like pick sides. I think it was more so to like, anyways, but like I forgot where I was going, so it wasn't important. Never mind.
Yeah, dude. No, yeah, it's just like I just want to learn how to help them, and
Right.
this whole thing about critical race theory. The reason it pisses me off so bad is not because I'm some far right dude. Like I'm hardly political. Like Riley and I actually completely quit watching anything political like 3 or 4 months ago, and so it's like I'm hardly political at all. But I do think about these things because they're important. So
Right.
I do think about them, and I do form opinions on most things. Well, most things if I find it worthy of my attention and energy. But this one I have found worthy of my attention and energy, like this problem with race in this country, because I'm like, okay, obviously there is some problem or else it wouldn't be coming up. Do I think it's as bad as the media says? No, not by any means. Don Lemon, CNN dude, was talking to Morgan Freeman, I think like 10 years ago, like 2011 or something. And he was trying to what they call race bait. He was like race baiting him in this interview on CNN, where he was trying to get Morgan Freeman to agree with him that this company or this country was racially oppressive to black people, and that black people couldn't get out of where they've been for so long in this country, these poor neighborhoods and these whatever. And so he was setting this up, and then Morgan Freeman said, I don't agree with that. And Don Lemon was like, oh, well. And then Morgan Freeman looked him in the eyes and he said, you and me, we're proof. And it's just like, boom, like they're proof. But it's like, we say, yeah, people like this, they've made it out of these bad mentalities, but the vast majority hasn't. And then you have the government coming around, trotting around saying, oh, hey, yeah, by the way, yeah, black people, you're still oppressed and white people are the oppressor still. And it's like, why are you disempowering them even more? Stop. It like pisses me off, dude. It's like, stop. Like these people have just as much potential as anybody else in this world. And the last thing we need to be doing is telling them that they're a victim to their past. That's the very last thing we need to be doing. We need to be going in there and teaching them, dude, I'm going to help you. You're going to change your mindset and you're going to take off. Watch. And then you can help your buddies do the same. And then guess what? Then when you have kids, you break the chains, brother.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to break the chains. You're going to be the chain breaker. And it's like, it's so much deeper than politics. Like, I'm just so done hearing about politics. Like, I have people at work and they just, did you hear what the president said? Did you hear what Kamala Harris said? And I'm like, what'd she say? Tell me, lay it on me. What'd she say?
Yeah. Right.
I don't care. It's like, it's so much deeper than that. It's just a spiritual battle. And it's like, it's obviously the devil behind it all, trying to create contention. And it's like, if you are, the way I think about it, and I've talked about this with you, it's like, I don't want to play into the narrative that the media is trying to push. Because the media is trying to push a certain narrative. And if you're getting all triggered and stuff, that's what they want. They don't want you to start spreading love and it's like they want you to be out in the streets being like BLM and like breaking windows down and stealing crap from Target. That's what they want. And so it's like, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm not going to do what the far right people are doing. I'm not going to do what the far left people are doing. And one of my favorite quotes is, personal meaning is the antidote to extremism. Because extremism is like super bad. I mean, we see Afghanistan right now. The Taliban is very, very extreme. They're very, very ideological. Very ideological. If you want to know what ideology is, look at the Taliban. If you want to know what ideology is, look at North Korea. That's what it is, and that's what it leads to. And so it's like the media wants that because they get money. They get tons of money when their views go up. And so it's like, don't buy into that. Just don't. It's not worth it. That's what they want. And I don't want to be a puppet,
Yeah, no, I think like I just always go back to Satan. Satan is gonna, do anything he can to try and get you to lose your agency. And, if he knows he can get you to, get enveloped in politics in a way that it's gonna blur your spirituality, or it's gonna blur your decision making, and, in little ways kind of take away your agency, he's gonna do it. And so for me, like you said, like it just goes back to, it's a deeper meaning than, just I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat. It's
Yeah.
way deeper than that, because it's spiritual. It's the things that really matter in life. It's life, it's thriving. And so I just like how you said, I don't want to be anybody's puppet. And that's, that's God's plan. He doesn't want us to be anybody's puppet. He wants us
Exactly.
to use our agency for good. He wants us to use our agency to help other
It's like that's the whole
people.
story of the gospel. Is like, no, 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 no. You're an individual, not a puppet. You know?
Yeah, like this week for seminary, it's the word of wisdom, and so I was just preparing that lesson today, and it's just like the whole word of wisdom. Number one, I think it's the law of obedience, because like there's just some things that we're never gonna know. Why we can't drink coffee. It's like there's we can understand some of the reasons why, but it's like there might be a higher reason why, there might not be. Anyway, so it's a law of obedience, but then it's also a law of to keep our agency, and so it's just like kind of crazy how just in a simple health law, it's there to keep our agency. So it's like, well, I would imagine that, that's Heavenly Father's kind of game plan is most of the commandments, most of the things he gives us is to keep our agency.
Yeah, definitely. We kind of dabbled on that with the discipline equals freedom talk, where it's like, yeah, more discipline, more freedom. It's paradoxical, but that's what life is. Life is so paradoxical, and it always will be. Like everything you look at, it's like that's a paradox. And it's like, yeah, that's what life is. It's a paradox. It's so confusing, but that's just the way it is. And it's like, you need good, bad. You like, if we, you really don't want all the hard to go out of your life. You think you do, but you don't. Because if it was all gone, then you'd be so freaking bored. You would go find trouble because you'd be so bored. Like if nothing was ever wrong in your life,
Why do you think
you,
all the Black Lives Matter protesters went ham during quarantine? Because they haven't been doing anything for 6 months or whatever. It's like, okay, it makes sense why you're able to rile a bunch of people up to go do something crazy.
yeah. And Jordan Peterson also talks about how everyone inside of them, especially young people, two things. Young people kind of go through a phase called the messianic phase. And what it is they have this deep sense of this deep feeling where they want to make a positive change in the world, which is good, but they get extreme sometimes because when people start to get older, they kind of, it's not that they don't care about world issues anymore, but they just kind of worry about themselves. But when you're our age, college age, especially, is the messianic phase. I mean, psychologists have documented this. Almost always when kids are from their 18 to 30, they're in this messianic phase where they think they need to fix all the world problems and they think they know how. And they just have this deep desire to help, which is great,
Mhm.
but it can get out of hand. And then two, you have a desire for adventure because life, if you're not on an adventure, that's why a mission is so appealing to a lot of people. That's why it was to me, because I was like, it's not that I want to go live this super disciplined lifestyle and like read scriptures all day. It's because it's an adventure. I'm going to go to a
Right.
place I've never been before. I'm going to live with people I've never met before. I'm going to meet people that I've never seen before. And it's going to be an adventure. And so when you see people on the TV running like in these troops, almost, it's like an army troop and they're all storming the streets, like that's like looks like an adventure.
Yeah.
And so you're drawn to it. Young people especially are drawn to it. So they have this messianic phase they're in, and then they have this desire for adventure. And so they're like, that's an adventure. I'm gonna go do that. And it's under the guise of compassion, but it's like, yeah, smashing, throwing rocks at cops and like stealing stuff. That doesn't look very compassionate. But that's just me. That's just
You do
my
you. If
opinion.
that's
Like
if that's the way you show compassion,
that's a
whatever.
weird, yeah. It's like that's a very odd way.
You just chuck
But
a rock at your girlfriend. You're like, I'm just showing you compassion. I'm just
yeah, it's like if that's how you show compassion, then I think honestly, I think you should go rethink what you're doing. But anyways, that's just me. If you think that's kindness and if you think that's helping, stealing stuff from Target, like, I mean, I don't think it's helping, but if you do, I mean, dude, like that's cool. Like I respect that as long as you're not infringing on my rights or whatever. But anyways, it's like those two things. And so when you understand things from psychological levels, the political like triggered you feel goes away.
Mhm.
Because when those riots broke out in 2020, I was like, this is freaking stupid. Like these dumb idiots, whatever. But then I hear Jordan Peterson talk about it, and he's a behavioral psychologist. So he looks at it
Right.
and he's like, most of these people are in their 20s, 30s. They're in the messianic phase where they have this deep desire to change the world for the better. And so this thing is floating under the guise of that, and they want an adventure, and they're tired of their monotonous work life.
Right.
And so that's an adventure. And so boom, they go do it. And that's all unconscious. It's not like they're sitting there thinking, man, I want adventure and I want to save the world. Let me go. They're just like, boom, drawn to it, you know? And when you look at it from that point of view, it's like, oh, I can understand that. Do I agree with it and do I justify it still? No, but I can understand it. And the triggered feeling I have just melts away. And it doesn't melt away to the point where I'm like, I'm not going to do anything. Like, obviously, I'm talking about it, you know, because when you have something to say, silence is a lie. And I feel like I've been holding a lot of this in since 2020,
Right.
just because I've been egotistical and worried about what people are going to think about what I'm going to say and things like that. But it's like, who cares? I know what I think. I know who I am. And I'm going to say my thoughts the best I can. I'm not going to word them perfectly, but these are just some thoughts I've had. So I don't know how we got here, but we did.
Yeah, I was like, dang, we we get crazy places when we were
That's why I couldn't like.
we
I'm
were
like,
just talking about Virginia, and then all of a sudden we're talking about critical race theory.
yeah, man, critical race theory can go die. That's literally Satan.
Oh,
And I
they
think most
just
people will
teach,
agree with me, dude. Most people agree because it's stupid.
yeah, and they're gonna start teaching in schools. So then I'm homeschooling my kids. So
Oh, I'm for sure homeschooling my kids. It's not even a question. The only way I won't homeschool them is if there's a private organization where I know the owners and I know that they're just going to teach good old school stuff.
right,
Then I'll put my kids in there. But if there's no public schools, no way. Especially if I live in Virginia, no way.
and they're just like, these kindergarten teachers telling the kids you can be whatever gender you want, and it's like, no way, I'm sending my kid to that school. Like, yeah. Anyways,
Yeah, the
so
schools in Canada show the little kids the gender unicorn. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a
mm,
picture of this pretty unicorn, like this funny, cute little cartoon one, and it's um yeah, it just basically teaches that, and they give it to kids to color, and they teach them. Yeah, the doctors, they just make a guess when you're born, but you can change it. And it's like, ooh, I don't know if we should be messing with this. Like, we've kind of had this set for like hundreds of thousands of
forever.
years. Like, I don't think if we should just be like, oh yeah, that whole gender thing, bullshit. It's like, maybe we should like take this a little bit slower. Like, if you want to question it, that's cool. Like, I get that. But maybe we shouldn't just go from like male, female to like whatever. It's like, maybe we should find, like, I don't know. I just think about that. Like, I think about that all the time where with like Eastern medicine. So I'm like, okay, so for pretty much as long as humans have been somewhat socialized, we've had all these medical this is going to be my last thought, by the way.
Okay.
We have all these medical avenues, we have prayer and we have blessings and we have herbs and we have meditation and spiritual and energy work. We have all this stuff. And then Western medicine comes around and they're like, chemistry, take this pill, change your biochemistry better. And then they're like, all that Eastern medicine that people spent thousands of years doing, bull crap. And it's like, whoa, hold up. Like, that was like 3,000 plus years of people, really smart people, like figuring out how the body works, acupuncture points, pressure points, energy work, meditation, finding out what herbs, like I'm sure a lot of people had to die eating different herbs, to see what it would do to the body. And like, oh, if you eat this, it helps this and da, da, da. And you're just going to throw all that in the trash. And then when so-and-so comes in for his diabetes, you're going to be like, let's see, I could have you eat different and exercise and get better sleep, or medicine.
Boom, medicine.
And so it's like, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm not doing that to Western medicine. I would never throw it in the trash like
Right.
that ever, because that's ignorant. And it's rule 1 and 12 more rules for life is do not carelessly denigrate social institutions or creative achievements. So that covers the left and the right. Right being social institutions, left being creative achievements. It's like, don't just carelessly denigrate them. Don't just be like, oh, Eastern medicine, yeah, all BS. Oh, you go to the chiropractor, stupid. Oh, you do energy work, stupid. Oh, you like whatever. It's like, well, dude, people have been doing that for like a freaking long time. Like there's got to be something to it. Don't just carelessly denigrate it. And same thing with Western medicine. I don't carelessly denigrate it, but I am very critical of it for a lot of reasons. But it's like, but I would never just be like, bull crap. So, anyways,
Yeah. No, I would just say for like, maybe like an invitation is to, look for, ways to look at, I don't know, like for me, it's been a pretty, self-reflective week, week and a half, since we've last recorded. And it's been kind of interesting to think about, what I'm putting my trust in, what am I, what ways can I, better view the world? What ways can I better, just kind of taking like a self inventory of, kind of the way I've been handling things and thinking about things. And so I would just say, it's always good to just kind of take like a self reflection and just be able to have those moments to think about, like maybe even just putting it as like, in what ways are you putting too much trust in the arm of flesh? And I think that as you kind of think about that, the Spirit's pretty good at reminding you and letting you know what you're doing that's putting too much, trust in the arm of flesh, because you can even be doing something good like working out, but if you're like if you're doing it for the looks, if you're doing it for other people, then it almost becomes like, it's just not as powerful, there's not as much meaning behind it. But like when it's something spiritual and you're like doing it to, better yourself, to be a better husband, to be a better, father, whatever it might be, then it becomes, really meaningful and you're putting your trust in God instead. But so that would just be my, last invitation is, maybe take a self-reflection of ways that you're putting too much trust in the arm of flesh, because it does not go good when you do that.
yeah,
So
it really doesn't. And humans have been known to be stupid a lot of the times. So, that's an understatement.
yeah.
And so it's like, it's almost obvious, like, yeah, why would I trust the government, especially after 2020? Like, what? Like, that just baffles me that people still do. Did you know the government said that you should wear 2 masks? I'm like, wait, you trust the government? You trust them? Like, what? You're a silly person if you're still trusting them. That's just a funny example, but it's like, yeah, trust God, man. That's where you should trust. Like, trust God. He knows what's happening.
And I think it's just amazing that we have a prophet, and it's like, times are just going to continue to get harder, and it's going to be tough to, our faith is just going to be continually being tested. But it's like, it's pretty amazing to know that we have someone here that can speak for God. And it's I'm grateful for that. And obviously there's lots that goes with that, but grateful for a prophet.
Yeah, definitely, man.
All righty. Well, thanks for joining us for kind of our word vomit episode of the week, where we just kind of this is our first time like talking on the phone or on Zoom in like a week and a half. So we were just kind of going at it. But thanks if you listened all the way. Thank you. We're
Yeah,
excited
man.
to
Oh, geez.
get back on track and to be able to start, coming out with, new episodes and new things for you guys. And we're excited to be able to continue to try and, help you guys one by one and trying to make a difference in the world, because we're in our messianic phase trying to change the world. So we're going to do it.
Yeah, man. That's right. True, true.
Subscribe, message us if there's anything we can do to help y'all out. And until episode 31, we'll see y'all
But
next
yeah,
time.
hit me up if you live in late and you want to go to the gym with me in the morning.
Okay. Booyah. All
All
right.
right.
Love you. Bye.
Love y'all. God bless.